Without further ado, I would jump in and have our first speaker, Mr. Somi Roy, to give you a cultural background on Manipur. And Somi Roy is a New York-based film and curator specializing in Asian and Asian American and non-fiction films. Somi Roy is based in Imphal, Manipur, as well as in New York City. Now, I would like to invite Somi Roy to kindly come and give the presentation to us. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me, Narendra. And I'm going to, the field of human rights and conflict and what is happening in Manipur is a field that I'm not very knowledgeable about. But I've been asked to give a presenting introductory framework to show you, to tell you a little story about who Sharmila is and where she comes from. This is a perspective from Manipur, and it is a perspective from the view of culture and of history. It's going to be a very brisk walk, and forgive me if I kind of trot you through it, but I think we will have copies of this PowerPoint available for people who wish to look at it a little more closely. So, this is just to get us on a common page, on one page, so to speak, so that we can have the stage for the discussion. There are many stories in the Northeast. Manipur is just one of them. But by using the specificity of Manipur, perhaps some areas will be illumined. But at the same time, there will be many other stories that are not being told right now, and I hope that some of those stories will also come out in the discussion. It's a framework, and therefore a lot of nuances are missing. We'll be happy to fill in, or try to fill in some of these nuances as we go along in the discussion stage. If there are any questions, please save it for until after the entire panel has spoken and has given the presentations, so that there may be some completeness to some of the responses that we might have for you. Thank you. Okay. Everyone knows this map of India. Can anyone see the bottom line from the back? Yeah? It's okay? Yeah. So we're talking about this region of the 8 states, run by the 3 countries, China, Burma, and Bangladesh. And of course we have over here the little, what we call the chicken neck, or the Silchar corridor. It's about 30 miles wide. Here are the 8 states. I think they're all kind of familiar to all of you. Geographically, the eastern is part, and the southeastern Himalaya. This mountain, foothills, valleys, and it's about the size of Spain, this entire region. The population is about 40 million altogether. 25 in Assam, 15 in the 7 other states, each of it about 2 million each. And this 15 million is what is considered culturally the Tibeto-Burman ethno-linguistic minority of India. I'm told that India recognizes only linguistic and religious minorities. So the idea of an ethno-linguistic minority may be a little unfamiliar to many of you. This is about 1/100th of the population of India. What's in a name? It's extremely important in the Northeast today. You will hear the term Manipur used a lot. It's really a common term for Meiteis in the language. Meitei, that's what we call ourselves. It's our ethnonym. We're in the valley, and we have Naga and 50 tribes in the hills. The Meitei Long is the language of the Meiteis. It is also known as Manipuri in the Indian Constitution. So that we recognize the cultural contribution and participation of Naga and Kuki tribes, the term Manipuri is best used when we're referring to the state, like when you talk about the Manipuri educational policy, for instance. So Manipur is about the size of New Jersey, mountainous valley, but the valley itself, when the natives live, is about the size of Rhode Island. So 1.5 million, that's about 1,000 of the Indian population. And the Naga and Kuki tribes together make up less than 1 million. These are film actors, I think some of you recognize who they are. This is a British map. I think it's from James Rennell, 1800, East India Company. But historically, where I've circled it, Manipur is the kingdom of the Meiteis. The four main kingdoms of the region, Manipur, Ahom, which is Assam today, Sikkim and Tripura. And until British India came along, these four kingdoms were not part of the historical Indian empires that preceded it. In fact, I think Ahom and Tripura were at the forefront of repelling the Mughal invasions during the time of Aurangzeb. Historically, Manipur is known as Mekhle, Mekla, and Kamle Pak, and the name dates to 1730s. That's the king of Manipur, 1905, with his bride. The kingdom was established in 33 AD according to its manuscripts. Some may say it's about 2,000 years old, give or take a few centuries when it comes to manuscripts like that. Became part of the British India in 1891, part of India in 1949. Manipur as a kingdom. This is their view of the world. This is what they knew of the countries around them. There's Ahom to the north, Takir Tripura to the west, Kagi, Yunnan to the northeast, Awa to the east, Form to the northeast as well, and Pango, Bengal, which is probably all they knew of India at the time, to the west. So the crossroads, the trade route, one of the small minor silk roads to southern China. Interestingly, the birthplace of modern polo. Polo starts in many cultures, in many countries, but what we do know as modern polo, which comes from British, English polo, comes from Manipur. And here's Mr. Sher, Colonel Sher, the father of polo, with his polo place called Band of Brothers. Of course, Manipur still plays international now. There are 3 tournaments a year, and this is the traditional style. The language, very important. There's the manuscripts and the script. This is one of about 380 Tibeto-Burman languages, but only one of about 15 or perhaps a dozen original scripts in the Tibeto-Burman family. It's considered a Brahmi script dating about the 11th century. Most of these manuscripts are in Aribalom, which is Old Manipuri, and it's written in the script called Maitei Maye. What are the subjects about? These manuscripts. You have history and genealogy, statecraft, religion, ritual, cosmology, geomancy, dance and music, polo and martial arts. And for this reason, the Congress Member of Parliament, Entombi, thought Manipur was not just a culture, but a civilization. However small, it's a kind of miniature civilization, a dollhouse of civilization. The original religion, before the Hindu religion came, from Sanamahi. Here the text is based on ancestor worship, animism, and we even have a god of sports here, Arjun, the rock formation. That's an Ouroboros, the serpent biting its tongue. Very common archetypal image the world over. Vaishnavism came as a Hindu form of religion in the 18th century, and many of the manuscripts of the preceding religious tradition was destroyed. Today, after the British affirmed Bengali as an administrative language in 1891, publishing is still in the Bengali script. Maitei Maye is being revived in the educational system, But Old Manipuri is now an endangered language. This is a book that was published in 2006 by Chanu, which is a manuscript on dueling, on the art of jousting and heraldry and chivalry. It's called China Roll, The Way of the Warrior, and it's published in 2 scripts. That's what's happening now. They're publishing both Meitei as well as in the current, more widely read Bengali script. Under Hinduism, it really flowered to the degree that the Hindu-era Manipuri dance is considered one of 4 classical dances in India today. The downside is that because of Hinduism, Meitei began to get more distance from the Naga tribes and the Kuki tribes. The connection of Hinduism is very important. In fact, Vinodini Devi thought the only connection between India and Manipur is Krishna. But what a marvelous connection. It's a transition to democracy. The British leave 47. Between 47 and 49, the constitution was adopted, elections were held. The merger agreement was signed in 1949. I'm sure some of the panelists can address more in detail if you have questions about this. This clicker is not quite. Okay, here we are. It's today one of India's 28 states. Free press, 15 dailies, 3 in English, I think 3 online. Democratically elected. So after 1949, India has created the Northeastern region. It has its own ministry called DONER, D-O-N-E-R, Department of Northeastern Region Ministry. Manipuri or Meitei Loan is one of the 22 scheduled languages in the Constitution. It's the only Tibeto-Burman language in the group. The Naga and Kuki tribes are classified as scheduled tribes. And Meiteis today are classified under a category called other backward classes. What are the new directions? India has a Look-East policy that sees Manipur as a gateway to Southeast Asia, part of the Trans-Asia Highway. And there's a new railhead being built, opening that to 2014 apparently, but I think realistically a little later. And fiber optic cables are being laid, which will link it to Burma. And this was a what we call rally that happened when I was there in November 2004. That went all the way to Singapore. Manipuri culture has suffered in different stages. The first one is that in the 1700s, the adoption of Hinduism distances Meiteis from their surrounding tribes that have been very close to them historically. In 1826, the British and the Burmese have a treaty, and the Treaty of Yarndale closes Burma off. In 1891, the adoption of Bengali closes off the manuscripts tradition, so that writers in Manipuri can no longer read old manuscripts. In the 1960s, anti-Indian attitudes begin to develop. There's a great deal of racism in India on both sides, and one of the problems that we have. And then in the 1970s, armed secessionism starts. Conflict emerges. This is a protest against army rape in 2004. Here's Irom Sharmila, currently on strike. Now travel is restricted to the region in various degrees, and security issues exist because of the separatism. And we have 80,000 troops in Manipur, which gives a ratio of 1 to 33, armed to civilian ratio, population ratio. There's nationalism, revivalism. And in 2005, the Central Library was set on fire. A few years earlier, in the year 2000, Bollywood films from Bombay were banned. These are certain nationalist groups that have entered the cultural sphere. The culture has been in isolation, so what has happened? means that the enrichment from other high cultures is beginning to diminish. Traditional cultural practices remain relatively intact because of the isolation. However, population entertainment grows. We produce about 70 feature films a year, digitally. And manufactured entertainment, especially K-pop from Korea, is extremely popular and comes via cable and music. Abroad, we have Manipuri films being shown at Cannes, Toronto MoMA, Band, Lincoln Center. The Pontiam's Theatre has come to Band, Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, Edinburgh Fringe. And we've had live ensemble at Symphony Space in New York and the United Nations. So it gets around, it's very well represented. What are the challenges abroad, ahead? The main thing is, how does Manipur get representation and forge a new participation in a new rising India? Big challenge for the culture. How do you deal with things like burning of libraries by revivalists, groups, and activists, and national activists? How do you deal with the new identities of Naga and Cookies, which are now coalescing into Christianity? Just one of the reasons, one of the factors. And of course, what is happening in Burma since March of 2011. A lot of things will depend on what happens in Aung San Suu Kyi, I think. And lastly, we have a diaspora, large one, and a great deal of IT knowledge. We have about almost perhaps 100 IT engineers here in this country from Manipur. So there's a knowledge economy growing in Manipur and the potential of a knowledge economy growing in Manipur. That was my email. So, thank you very much.